Okay, I will start with some technical introductions, and then we can start with the actual content. I see that we have quite a few participants already. I am Sabri Ben Roman. I'm project officer at the Erasmus Student Network headquarters based in Brussels, and we will be the technical host for this webinar. The webinar is happening within the framework of the DACEM initiative. You can see what it stands for on the top left, but in short, Digitizing Academic Catalogues for Enhanced Mobility. So the title is self-explanatory. Course catalogs are extremely important, of course, in the context of mobility when students have to choose where to go. But how course catalogs can be structured, what makes a good course catalog good, and how can digitalization support in having better course catalogs is a whole different question. And that's a question that the project tackled for the past 3 years. We will soon have the final conference, as you know. It was part of the registration for this very webinar. The conference will be next week, but this is, let's say, a special space where we wanted to showcase something extra to the people who attended, also in connection to the conference itself, of course. I leave the word to Manuel Rodriguez. He's full professor at the University of Vigo, and the University of Vigo is also project coordinator. So, Manuel, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Sabri. First of all, thank you to all of you for joining us here today. For us, for the DACEM people, it's a very important day as we are finishing this 3-year work, and we can show to you some of our main results. I hope you can enjoy this presentation. Feel free to make questions if you want, mainly using the chat available here. We expect to have some time to answer your questions. In any case, if you want to know about the project, don't hesitate to contact me at any time by email. You can contact. I want to say that this session is going to be recorded. It's not live stream, but then later we are going to upload this and make available this presentation through YouTube. Well, I want to also share with you who are the partners of this project. We are 6 universities in the project: Charles University, Tallinn University, Mari University, University of Orleans, and University of Vigo. And we have also, Thessal University. And we have also ESN, that is important partner in the project representing the students. EUF, that is also important partner providing support for the software development and interoperability. And we have a small company from Portugal, Virtual Campus. Well, that long today, we are going to show you now about the platform we have developed, so you can see our main result, that is the software available. And then we will provide some overview of the software, under the hood, what this involves from a technical perspective. Not too much, only 10 minutes. Then we have Ida Beltoven from EUF talking about recommendations for academic course catalogs, the main results of the project. And then we come again with Thiago Simões to talk about the quality link. That is important because interoperability of the data in course catalogs is something very important. And finally, we have some questions and answers and the conclusion. So let's go on this. I'm going to share a different screen right now to show you what is the DACEM platform. Okay, I hope you can see here. Okay, wait, where is it? One moment, because I need to check that still sharing. Okay, as I guess you are seeing right now the main page of our platform. By the way, you can connect and link to dacem.eu. When you write that in your browser, you can get this same view I'm viewing here. And the first one thing we have tried to do in this software, this platform, is to provide a very a platform with many contents, with many information, as you will see it. but also to facilitate the user experience, the navigability of the users through the platform. First, maybe to say that to mention a disclaimer that the contents available here in this platform, maybe they are not complete, of course, but maybe they are not also very accurate. We have included some contents to demonstrate the functionalities, but this is not the most precise and accurate content. Okay, so just this is a general view of the first page. Okay, we have several options here, like something like find a program. That could be something interesting from users, from students maybe that are looking for the mobilities opportunities. But they can see here also like several universities and a map with the location of this university. The point, as you can see, there is that this is not a course catalog just for one university, but it can be a course catalog for several universities. Okay, we can go here and check about the DACEM, to check the institutions available in DACEM. And we can also check here, have here a space for alliances. We can include here different alliances and see, for example, for Athena University, what are the universities involved in Athena here that are available here. We can go, for example, to one university, and if we go to one university, we can see this page where we have included plenty of information about in this case, the University of Vigo, with institutional contacts, the authorities, the mobility for incoming students, outgoing students, the admission for full degree students, for exchange students, with some important information as nominations, application deadlines, contact. We have also included information for visiting students, policies. Okay, you can see that we have many information. Maybe sometimes people say that this is too much information. What I have to answer to this is that you don't need to provide as much information. You can provide the information you want. For example, if we go here to University of Orleans, they have provided like less information here, and it's not necessary to include the information, for example, for visiting students if you don't have that information. So you decide information to be included, and the website shows that information, and not shows anything wrong in case it's not provided. Okay. Then there is some important information we included about universities, about institutions, that in general we have tried to follow the ECTS Users Guide's recommendations about course catalogs from 2015. But in our first interviews with the students, mainly with Erasmus students, sometimes they gave us some ideas, and one of these ideas, for example, was the problem with campuses, because these are, for example, the campuses available in the University of Vigo, and particularly one student complained that he wanted to come to Vigo to stay close to the sea, but finally he had to go to Ourense, that is 100 kilometers from the sea. So this was a bit, he didn't like this, to say. Okay, so we can explore here the campus, we can also explore here the schools available, the faculties, and the schools available in the campus. We have specific pages for each campus, for example, where we can see a description of the campus, contacts, the programs included available in that campus, and the faculties and schools available in that campus, okay? And for each school, we have also organized information in a similar way. We can explore what is, provide information about the school, the contacts, the programs, etc. Even we can provide information about subunits inside faculties and schools if you want to do it. Okay, it's not necessary. Okay, as I say, we try to make this facilitate the navigation to go back, forward. Okay, we have another important part of the university information, institution information, that is the catalog. This is the specific information about programs and courses. It's available here, and your users can browse this information using these SCAD codes, as you know, the main knowledge areas. Okay, they can also have a search functionality if they prefer, for example, to search for some specific courses with many filters options here, field of study, type, bachelor, master, doctorate, the language available for the courses, the campuses, the organizational units, even if the courses are available for mobility students. For example, here the programs, here we have this mark to show that these programs are available for mobility students, okay? Okay, when we go inside one of these degrees, we can see this page with this, like the profile of the degree, some specific information here, study mobility, professional practices available for mobility students, the coordinator, and we have here, again, in this case, plenty of information about this program. Of course, it's up to you when you want to provide the data about your program to decide if you want to provide as much information or not. Important thing here, we have the description of the courses. When you go to a program, you can check the courses, and you can check the courses, well, by term, because many times the students plan to do a mobility in the second term, so they are interested in all the subjects available in the second term, for example. But a regular student, a full degree student, maybe is more interested in some year subjects, okay? So they can explore in this way. And well, we have, as I say, much information here about the program, about the mobility, and even we have included here the mobility agreements that are available at local students to go to other universities, okay? This information here, we have, for example, here, University of Maribor, that has an agreement with this program, and specifically in this case, this faculty. In the other case, in Thessaly, there is no faculty specifically here. We have here, in this case, the field of education that is involved. So using this, we can go directly, for example, to University of Thessaly, or in this case, to the Faculty of Electrical Engineering at the University of Maribor, and check here that there is this program, etc. Okay, sorry, I think I have moved to another tab of the browser and you didn't see it, but if you try by yourself, you can see that it's possible to jump to this other page of the Maribor University, okay? Okay, and of course, you can also go into the subjects and check, for example, this subject here, what information is available. Again, we have like this profile information with maybe key data, but then also the information for the students. As you see, we have tried to provide a good appearance for this information. Maybe, I'll say again, maybe too much information to detail, but this, of course, can be edited by the users. And even here, we are seeing the information about a subject, a course, but we can see even the information, we can provide like different information for every edition of a course, okay? We can check here, for example, what was some data about this.
Sorry to interrupt, but it seems that you're still on a tab that we are not viewing.
Oh, okay, sorry, thank you very much. What are you viewing right now?
Programs, courses.
Programs and courses. You are here. Okay, sorry, thank you. So I'm going to try to, okay, because this opens another window. Yeah. So I'm going to share, to avoid this, I'm going to share it differently. Okay.
You can also share the window or...
Yeah, okay. Okay, let me know if you are seeing now the School of Telecommunications Engineering, the bachelor's degree in telecommunications. No?
We see the map. Explore our universities.
Okay, you have to do, sorry. Okay. Okay, maybe it's this one. Okay, let me know if you can see programs and courses.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is the right one.
Yes.
So, well, basically I was showing here, and as well, when we are seeing the program, we can go to see what are the subjects by year, by term. I think you didn't see these functionalities by term, the second term, the first by year, the first year, the second year, to facilitate, as I said, the view of the students about, maybe depending on their interest, they can see one thing or the other. We can see also here the mobility for these subjects, etc. Then about agreements, I was trying to show you these agreements where we have, for example, here agreements with University of Maribor, Faculty of Electrical Engineering. We can go directly to this faculty and check the programs available there. Of course, if we come back again to our main program, we can see here information, for example, in one of these subjects where we can see this information that, as I say, maybe is too much information that you can reduce, you can condense, and you can see here the different editions of information about the different editions of these courses. For example, the instructors, the teachers, the grade distribution. Maybe it changed from year to year, and for transparency purposes, maybe it's good to provide this information. Again, it's up to you. It can be up to you if you want to provide this or not. So this is all the information that we have in the catalog. As I say, you can explore here using the browsing by knowledge areas, or you can search here directly with these these filters for fields of study, type, languages, campuses, organizational units, and even available for mobility, where we have this symbol that represents the courses available for mobility. Okay, and finally, to finalize the information that is available about our university, we have resources and services. That this is information that is important many times for mobility students, is something that is recommended by the ECTS Users Guide 2015 to provide, but many universities don't provide this in the same course catalog as the courses, and for students it can be a bit difficult to locate this information. So in this case, it's provided here, and maybe in this way we propose to change the name of the course catalog more. We like to call this an academic catalog, not just a course catalog, because information goes beyond courses. Okay, we can sell it here campus and have specific information for campus, for example, here to provide different information about cost of living and housing. Okay, so it's a lot of information, but we have worked a lot to provide this information in a very structured way and a very organized way, facilitating towards trying to facilitate the navigability of end users. Finally, we can go here to this first button I show you. We have seen alliances, institutions, all the information, but maybe the student just want to, okay, I want to search for a program, for example, industrial engineering. Maybe this is something I want. Okay, and we can see what is available, about what results are available here. We can go directly to one of these programs and check these programs. Okay, we can see basically the same information as we saw previously here with their agreements. For example, we can go here to Oporto, see the program there. For example, okay, we can see here automatic mechanic in Porto also has an agreement with the University of Vigo with the School of Industrial Engineering, and we can go back to the School of Industrial Engineering. Okay, and maybe one of the last things we have been working on has been on joint programs, and here I want to show you, okay, information and communication technologies. we have here a double master that is a joint program that is also available in Charles University. So we can go to the Charles University, go to the catalog, and see here information and communication technologies. There is a double master in telecommunication engineering. This is a joint program. We can go there and go to the information page in the University of Vigo that provides information about this joint program. Here, for example, if we go to the telecommunications, okay, we can see this here, this symbol that represents joint programs that allows students to search to see this. So basically, this is the website. As I said, please go through it and test it. And I wonder if we have maybe, well, sometime, maybe some questions. I think it would be nice to know if you want to know something more. Maybe just one last thing, that is in this search functionality, if the student selects the whole program, for example, here, Teleco, we have here like the list of programs, of all the programs available in the platform right now. And if we choose one of these projects, we get the result list is updated, showing only other programs that have agreements with our program. So this is another functionality that we saw previously, that if you are exploring a program, you can see the schools, faculties, university that has an agreement with yours. But in this case, you can go directly to the program that has an agreement with your program. And again, explore here the information available in that program. So yes, please let me know if you have any question.
Thank you, Manuel. We have a couple of minutes. So I don't know if you have access. You should have access to the Q&A tab on the bottom of the Zoom. If you open it, there are a few questions. I think some are technical in nature, so maybe Tiago can answer it after the next slot. But some of them maybe are more content related, let's say. I don't know if you're seeing them, but for example,
if you can tell me,
yeah. So there is a comment from Irene. It says, how data are exported from in-house courses catalogs to this one? Are real-time updates supported? And then if we update the in-house course catalog, will it automatically sync? So basically, are the courses information showcased automatic or not?
Yeah, that's an important question, and maybe it's the main bottleneck we have now, because we have the software, but we don't have the data. We have been working on some solutions for this. One is to be able to import from other repositories, but in this way we are supporting Okapi. It's not completely supported. Okapi, Tiago is going to talk about this later. It's an interoperability interface that enables to export this data, the data available here, for other systems to expose, but also can be used to import. But this means that the information in your system should also support this API. So that is maybe a problem right now. Another way to support to include here the information, we have developed a CSV facility that basically you can prepare your data in an SL file, and then you can import that SL file here. So this can facilitate to a long extent the population, the provision of information here. We are thinking about an extension of the project in that ways, maybe also involving generative AI to support users provided information. Yeah, we know it's a main problem. We have done some solutions, but maybe we need also to work further on this. Okay, thank you.
Maybe we have time for one last question, which seems connected, and then we'll go to the next part. We have still 1 minute. You want me to share it with you?
Yeah.
So the question is by Svenja, who asks, who entered all the data and information, or is it connected to some internal database? I think in part you answered this question, but
Yeah, the data has to be provided by the universities. Tiago is going to talk something about this later. But yes, I think this is, as you are questioning about this, and is of course a main concern for us also. Now the data has to be provided. It can be provided in these two ways. We have here an administration site. I can show you. Okay. Where you can enter with login and username and password, of course. And you have here all the content, access to all the content available. For example, my campuses. I can access to my resources and services, and every of this information can be edited here using these forms. As you can see, most of the information, many fields are empty because you don't need to provide all the information, only the information you want to provide. But here you can edit using these forms. Okay, this is the basic form. And we have also another option that is here to import programs using a CSV. Okay, you can upload here the programs. And I have remembered one functionality, one feature we have in the system that I didn't mention. All this information is available here in English, but we have like different languages. For example, in case of the University of Vigo, we have here Spanish. The point is that the information has to be always in English. Anytime you create something, you are requested to upload the information in English. But of course, you can provide the translations you want, and if the translation is available, it's shown. But for example, for Czech language in University of Vigo, we don't have this translation, so it's not shown here. Okay. Okay. I think we are on time right now.
Yeah, let's go to the next slide.
Move to the next session with Tiago. Thank you.
Thank you, Manuel. And so next we will have Tiago Simões. He is a backend web and app developer at the European University Foundation. EUF was involved both in the content development of the DACEM initiative, the DACEM project, which means the research, the desk analysis, which also contributed to the creation of the platform, and they also have had a key role in the technical development of it. So Tiago, you will talk us about Under the Wood, so more in detail about the DACEM software, and you have until 11:05, so not much, but enough to maybe gather some extra Q&A questions. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Sabri. So let me share presentation. I hope this will answer some of the questions that we have seen in the Q&A. Also, I will speed this through because the content is a bit technical. So we want to talk about the DACEM software that powers the DACEM platform and is used in other places. So we're going to have an overview of what is there. We're going to have a look at the main features, essentially a summary of what Manuel presented. We're going to look at the individual components that make those features possible, and we're going to talk about some recipes for success. So to answer already a few questions, the DACEM software is powered by Drupal core in the 10 series. It will be updated to the 11 series this year still. This is a free and open source content management system. It's built with PHP, uses Symfony components, Composer for dependency management. And we chose this as the basis for the software because it is actively maintained, it is actively developed, and is extensively documented. And we figured this is extremely important for sustainability. The system, as the core that powers it, is extensible by design, which means that we make use of packages such as modules that bring functionality or themes that impact the looks of the site that are contributed by the Drupal community. The UF has also developed some specialized packages for use with Drupal applications, and they deal mostly in this domain of the European higher education. We have specific packages that were built for DACEM in concrete, and of course, the underlying system offers us robust APIs that allow for custom development. So we looked at the main features. We have authentication, and this was overlooked. The production app will have authentication with My Academic ID, which is connected to Edugain. There is user management per institution. This platform caters to several institutions at the same time, but each have their own user management, which is also true for the management of the content associated with the institution. We have content translation, and you saw the navigation in search in the demo just before. In the background, you should also know that we use some specialized data models that stray from the default Drupal way of doing things. And of course, we have some APIs to ensure interoperability. And the great question is, what if I want more than what I've seen or less? We built this using components, and you can swap these components if you want to build the software in your own way. Especially in terms of branding, because of course, if you want to use the DACEM platform as it is, well, you saw that it looks great, but that's how it's going to look like. So these components that allow us to have these features, we start with the authentication layer, where we use the OpenID Connect protocol. This is what is used by My Academic ID as well. For user management, we create groups, and we leverage some of the information that comes from My Academic ID. For content management, we work with the group functionality and whatever is provided by core. This is the same for the multilingual support, the views, the search functionality. The data models that we used are related to Erasmus without paper, OCAPI, and ELM, the European Learning Model. And for interoperability, we use OCAPI version 2. We're in the process of implementing it in production. And there is also core support for the JSON API specification. So OpenID Connect is what we have out of the box. In principle, we use My Academic ID in production and for testing, of course. For the purposes of development and testing our development, the UF has its own identity provider that essentially mirrors the functionality of My Academic ID. But if you want to have something else, you can use other OpenID Connect providers. This allows you Google login of all things, or you can use other protocols such as SAML. Depending on what your university uses internally, you can hook it up to your system directly. In terms of the user management, as I mentioned, we use something that comes from My Academic ID, namely the SHA code, to identify the institutions, which allows us to assign your user account to an institution. And from there, you are governed by the roles and permissions in your group. But you can build this with other tools available in the ecosystem. The same goes for the content management. So again, the content that is produced by a user goes into their group and managed by the rules of the group, and eventually by the overall rules. There are other specialized or contributed access control modules if you want to make sure that people only edit the information that they should. Multilingual comes with Drupal core. The DACEM platform is already multilingual, so you can have your content translated in the relevant languages. We have a compatibility layer that takes this into the formats that are used by API specifications and other data models. You can also hook up some external translation providers. If you're building your own application, I'm sure that AI-powered translation is a thing these days, and there's good support for that in Drupal as well. In terms of navigation and search, you can build anything you want with the system. It's a content management system. It's designed that way. Of course, if you want to simplify to have a single institution in the platform instead of multiple institutions, as we have in the DACEM platform, you can do so. You can do multi-site installation. This is all documented in the software. You can even hook up some external search engines to make search work a bit differently, especially if you have a lot of content, need heavy indexing. The data models, as I mentioned, we have been building this sort of applications for a while. We try to stick to the data models that are used in EWP for compatibility. So what we support in terms of institutions and organizational units is essentially the same data model used in the EWP APIs. For the programs, courses, and instances, we are supporting Okapi version 2, which is currently in beta. And we also have other specialized things like the EZF classification and some control vocabularies from ELM. This is relevant because these were produced not just for DACEM, not just for Drupal, but we actually produced PHP libraries as a whole that can be used and are essentially built from the actual control vocabularies published by the European Commission, but then served as a software package. Otherwise, well, it's a content management system that you can build as you go. In terms of interoperability, as we mentioned, we will provide the public course catalog in Okapi version 2 format. We use JSON API from Drupal core for decoupled architecture, meaning if you have a separate front-end application and you just use this platform as your backend, JSON API is very useful for that and allows some granularity of control that Okapi would not, for example. Core still supports the ability to create other REST APIs, and we see an open possibility of having specialized API support for other formats that we may discuss later. And with all of this combined, we come to the recipes. So recipes are a new standard that is being used in Drupal CMS. They are used to package functionality, meaning they will handle the required packages, how to configure those packages together, bring some demo content to allow you to see how it works. And you can chain these recipes. So one installs a user rule, another one installs a set of permissions, and you grow from there. And these provide you a starting point when you are building a Drupal application. And again, they are not dependencies. If you don't want them, you can remove them and you're not going to break anything. So our goal is to ship every major DACEM feature as a recipe to allow everyone to get started building their own. This means that if you're looking for adding resources and services as a whole to your application, then we will provide the starting configuration for you to have that, all the content types and views that you might need. And then we might have other recipes that will integrate that with other parts of the platform and so on. The idea is that you can build only the features that you need for the platform that you're building. And of course, you can develop your own and share them with the community, which is fairly easy to do. So you should use DACEM the way that you prefer and best fits your use case. You have seen the DACEM platform. You have seen the main features that it brings, or the main sections that we saw in terms of the institutional information, the course catalog itself, and the resources and services as per the ECTS Users Guide 2015. This functionality is partly included in the dashboard, in the AWP dashboard, where we already provide the course catalog storage and will provide the interoperability support. They're made with the same components. So when dashboard does Okapi v2, DACEM will do Okapi v2 and so on. You have other options as well, namely you can self-host the DACEM software and you get all the features that you saw in the platform. You have support for the core components of it because again, you use these components to build many, many applications. So we support them well after the time limit on some of the things we produce. And it's easy to swap these components. So the example of authentication is good for this. If you don't want to do authentication with My Academic ID and you prefer to use your institution's identity provider, you can also do that with minimal effort. And ultimately, you can build your own course catalog with different features. In fact, you can build a platform that caters not only to your course catalog needs, but others that you might have. And of course, if you build something, you are always invited to contribute back to the community because the more we use it, the more we build it, the more we understand it, and the better we can cooperate to produce something that benefits the community at large and ensures the sustainability of all these efforts. And that's it from my side. And I'm open to some questions, and
Thank
you
you,
always
Tiago.
have the Q&A.
Yeah, I can share some of the questions. So, for example, Guillermo asks if you could repeat how users can see the agreement signed. I don't know if it's clear what's being referred to here.
Okay, maybe I can answer about that. The agreement signed. We don't provide this information about if the agreement is signed or not. What we offer in our platform is that for your university, for your agreements, you can provide this information to your students, to your other students. So this is not a platform to manage all the procedures, all the issues involved in the management of agreements and learning agreements, interinstitutional agreements, but it's to provide information to the students, to other staff in other universities about what is available in your university. Okay. I see also in the questions that there are some questions about if this functionality is going to be available in the dashboard or if is supported by the European Commission. Maybe, as you see now, Tiago explained about the dashboard integration. It's something that is available, but of course, maybe we need to do more things, but it's something we have done with EUF and is completely integrated in there. And of course, we would like to have the European Commission support for this. We are going to try to have in the future. But the platform is going to be available at least in the EUF premises during the next 5 years. And as Tiago explained, that there are several options where on how you can take advantage of these DACEM results. You can store your course catalog in the DACEM premise, or maybe you prefer to install your own version of DACEM in your own premises, or maybe you want just to use some of the software we have developed, not everything. As this is going to be provided as open source, you can do it. You will be also able to do it, and will be very happy to support you on this.
Okay. Maybe we can take one last question because there are a few, but at least we will try to be within the time that we allocated. But maybe this is interesting. From Federica, she asks, how does enrollment work? Once a student finds a course, do they have to contact the university, and does the enrollment process happen outside the catalog itself?
Yes, basically it's the idea of the platform. The platform is to provide information so the students can get the information and not need to call, not need to contact. But once they decide about what are their interests, the next step should be to get in contact with the specific person, the coordinator, or etc. Yeah. And
Okay.
sorry, Tiago, maybe you want to add something about this, about your the questions about the dashboard or EUF support for this.
Yep. To recall, we built this module for the EWP dashboard based on the same underlying technology as we're using in DACEM for the interoperability layer. The dashboard has its own method for user accounts, access control, and so on. But the storage of the course catalog information that you put in the dashboard is handled by a system using the same component. It's not the DACEM platform that powers the dashboard. It's common software components that are used in both places.
Perfect. Okay, I think it's time to go to the next slot, and then we'll try to process the other questions, perhaps even after the call or in the Q&A part later on. So next up, we have Ida. Ida Beethoven is Policy and Research Officer at the European University Foundation, and the topic that she will talk to us about is basically recommendations for academic catalogs. Because as we mentioned, these catalogs will not, the platform that we've showcased, which is, let's say, the culmination in a sense of the project, is not really the only thing the initiative has been doing. We did a lot of research beforehand. We tried to analyze and compare catalogs from all over Europe and really create a framework that allows to understand what does a good catalog look like. So Ida will talk to us about this, recommendations related to academic catalogs. So Ida, the floor is yours. We have a bit less time, but even if you need a bit more time for this, it's okay.
Okay. Thank you, Sabri. Good morning, everyone. I will try to keep it a little bit quicker then, so we can also have time for questions, as this is always better to get some interaction also. And so my name is Ida Veldhoven. I work as a policy and research officer at the EUF, also part of the DACEM consortium. And today I will present some of the key recommendations and emerging use cases that have come from the DACEM project regarding the future of academic course catalogs. So as Sabri just mentioned, we have explored a lot. Of course, information is currently managed and shared across higher education institutions, and particularly in the context of international mobility. And yeah, we spoke a lot with institutions. We reviewed existing practices and identified common challenges faced by the students, but also by mobility coordinators and the universities. So today I would like to share key recommendations that we believe can help the institutions and basically everyone to move towards a more efficient and user-friendly, mobility-oriented future. Do have to note that these recommendations are still a work in progress. What I'm sharing now is more an initial draft, but in July we will release the official paper for the recommendations. So firstly, the first recommendation is perhaps also the most fundamental. So course catalogs, they should evolve from static information repositories into integrated mobility planning platforms. Today, students are often, they need to search multiple systems to gather information necessary for planning their exchange. They may need to access one place for the course descriptions, then another one to understand academic calendars, and another place again to see the application deadlines, and perhaps additional web pages for student services or contact information for university. So our survey that we did in the project really showed that many institutions still store mobility-related information across multiple disconnected systems, and students then face really fragmented user journeys. And as a result of this, mobility coordinators also spend a significant amount of time answering questions from the students that could have been addressed through better information integration. So instead of requiring the users to navigate multiple systems, the future catalog should become a single entry point for mobility planning. So imagine a student is preparing for an Erasmus exchange. Ideally, they should be able to find not only course information in one place, but also academic calendars and deadlines, potential relevant contact points, language requirements for the courses, other information on student services. Manuel mentioned earlier campus locations, and also perhaps to deal with the learning agreement workflows. So if we bring all these elements together, catalogs become more of a practical decision-making tool rather than simple databases. So the ultimate goal is not just to have the distant transparency here, but also to have a good usability for the students. Moving on to our second recommendation, which concerns the standardization. So across Europe, course catalogs now, they vary enormously in structure, quality, and what they include in their completeness. Some institutions, they provide extensive metadata and multilingual information for the students, but others only provide really basic course descriptions, and the consistency just creates challenges for students and staff to try to compare opportunities across institutions. So that's why we also recommend developing European minimum standards for the course catalog design. And these standards should focus on a few essential elements that everyone implements. So the course metadata should be complete and structured. We also recommend that key information should be available in English for the international students. It should also include assessment methods of the courses and grading information. They should be also robust in search and filtering functionalities. And finally, the information, it's really important that it should be available in a machine readable format. So here, the objective is not to impose identical system for every institution, but rather to ensure that there is at least a minimum level of consistency that supports mobility across borders. So that when the student compares the courses at the universities in different countries, they don't have to kind of decipher completely different informations and structures every time and try to compare them. So yeah, the second recommendation really goes into saying that the standardization can significantly reduce uncertainty for students, but also improve a sense of trust in the mobility process. For the third recommendation, this addresses one of the most frequently mentioned challenges that we have had during the project. And this is that even when we do get the data, which is challenged, the course information does exist, it's often not available early enough or changes too frequently last minute because of the way that the universities function. These late updates of the courses also create difficulties for the students to prepare their learning agreements. And some students may select their courses months before their exchange, only to discover that the courses have been changed or rescheduled or canceled or modified. So yeah, this uncertainty creates additional administrative work and can also negatively affect the mobility experience in general for students. So this is a very, very tough battle, but we do recommend that the institution could consider several measures to help with this, to at least to their best extent to publish course information earlier and to provide a greater transparency maybe regarding which information is final and if there's any information that is there currently, but it might still change. Also, it's important then to introduce a stability guarantee, especially for exchange students who depend on advanced planning, and to align the curriculum planning cycles more closely with the Erasmus mobility timelines within the institution. Finally, as courses change every semester, it's also very important to implement version control and kind of some sort of automated or understood update the tracking mechanisms of the updating of the course information. So thinking about how we use versions of histories in digital documents, similar principles should be applied for course information so that students and coordinators can clearly see what has changed and when and how up-to-date the information is that is out there. So the goal is not to eliminate change completely. Universities are dynamic environments, rather to make the changes that are happening more predictable and transparent. The fourth recommendation is focusing on interoperability. So many institutions also told us that catalog information must still be updated manually in multiple systems. And this creates also a duplication effort and increases the risk of errors. So a more sustainable approach to build interoperability through APIs and shared standards is important. So future catalogs ecosystems should support centralized registries, API-based data exchange, potential integration with EWP, and really a good compatibility with online learning agreements, and also an automated synchronization with student information systems. So the key idea here is really that the data should be entered once and can be reused many times. And when systems communicate with each other effectively, that information becomes more accurate and administrative burdens decrease and institutions can scale their mobility activities more efficiently. Yeah, so we can enable a smoother student mobility across Europe. The fifth recommendation, the last recommendation, focuses more on the user experience and maybe a little bit more the aesthetic side of course catalogs. Many existing course catalogs are originally designed as more administrative tools. than student-facing services, they can be very difficult and nitty-gritty to navigate and to understand, especially for international students, as it's kind of the first time they see their catalogs. It's not like it's their fourth semester at an institution. So they should serve two purposes simultaneously. They should still remain like a formal academic registry, but it should also be a practical mobility planning tool for the students that is easy to understand. So that means prioritizing simplicity, transparency, decision-making support, and cross-border usability. So the catalog should not merely present information, but it should really help the students to make informed decisions. And what can be done here is also the development of more consistent interfaces across the institution so that the design of the course catalogs is similar from institution to institution so that students participating in mobility just have an easier way of navigating the course catalogs. Those were the 5 recommendations. Having discussed those, I would also like to briefly connect them to the DACEM platform and the OCAPI standard that Tiago was mentioning earlier. So one of the strengths of DACEM is that it does not require institutions to replace their existing systems, but it can really act as an intermediate connecting layer. So institutions that do have limited resources can still participate without undertaking like a large-scale new digital transformation project because the platform really supports both institutional information and curricular information. So it enables the gradual adoption of OCAPI and beginning with mobility-related data such as exchange courses or English language offerings. So through bulk imports and other synchronization tools, the institutions can onboard their existing data relatively easily. So rather than replacing the current institutional infrastructures, it can really be like a side supporting for them to connect to the DACEM tool. And lastly, we also see a large opportunity here for the European University Alliances, because the alliances already operate across institutional and national boundaries, and therefore they face many of the interoperability challenges that we have discussed today. But DACEM really offers a potential scalable solution for creating the shared mobility infrastructures while still preserving the local systems and workflows of the universities. So yeah, this is kind of important to mention because institutions are understandably sometimes quite reluctant to replacing their existing infrastructures that they already have, but this middleware approach allows the institutions to maintain their local autonomy while still benefiting from common standards and shared mobility services. So we see a big potential here. To conclude, yeah, that was it from my side, and we are still working on developing these recommendations and new future emerging use cases. Thank you very much for your attention.
Amazing. Thank you, Ida. It was very interesting. I think it's interesting. I mean, as a technical host, I will dare share a content-related feedback, but I think if the achievement of the European education area as such has to pass through the recommendations that you have outlined, particularly when it comes to interoperability, making sure that solutions are user-centered, that people who don't, like institutions that don't have a lot of resources, can still share their information and be part of a common space to create really a European, in fact, European education area. We got a few questions. I don't know if you can see them, otherwise I can maybe choose some of them. But maybe one question, and I think all the panelists can really jump in, because some of them are more technical but related to your content exposition, others are more content related. So maybe first, this one seems more content related. Paolo asks, eventually each HEI should expose their catalog to any system. I think this comment is more to say that eventually, I mean, higher education institutions should be in the position to be able to share their information with these types of systems. And this is related to the interoperability, the OCAPI framework, etc. Do you want to comment on that? Or
I think Tiago, I saw you were ready to jump in there.
For Tiago.
Yes, I fully agree that every institution should publish their course catalog in an open standard, as a rule. And I understand that some institutions prefer to only publish courses available for mobility and so on. But from our perspective, it would make more sense that they publish the entire catalog. To give you an example, this is something that we didn't touch upon here, but I did come across in a project I worked a few years ago, where we wanted course catalog data so we could compare curricular plans for the purpose of helping institutions design their curricula, find mobility windows, find opportunities for cooperation with other institutions at the level of joint and double degrees, etc. And for that, well, you need the full catalog to understand what your partners are doing, whether it makes sense to establish agreements with these institutions and so forth. So we should see the course catalog as much more than just supporting the very obvious use case that we all feel that some of us have experienced live, the signing of a learning agreement. It's a big deal when you go on Erasmus. That is fantastic. But there is so much more happening. For us, the notion of you can publish your entire course catalog is essential to activate a number of other things. So you should not see this from the perspective of, I just want to solve this little use case. You should see this as an investment that will allow you to solve many use cases and possibly innovate as well. So to consider this, that we want the entire course catalog of every institution, it would make sense from a resource point of view that have each institution publish their own. Of course, you can imagine situations where you can have one instance of a course catalog powering more than one institution. That is all fine and well. But course catalogs are the kind of thing that will probably never be centralized because of the sheer amount of data that you're working on. From a sustainability point of view, it makes more sense that each institution publishes the thing. And part of the work done here to produce not only a platform, but the software to build it from is for this. Is so you can use and publish your own. And if you prefer other technologies because your IT team has other sets of skills, that is all fine and well. You can draw inspiration from this. And if you build something nice, again, please share it. We love it.
Amazing. Thank you, Tiago. Before going to the next slot, maybe we can take one more question. Maybe this was partly tackled, but I think it's good to wrap up this slot. And the question is, how can universities make international academic opportunities more accessible to students? And then there is a reference to underrepresented regions. So I think more accessible here really means in terms of course catalogs and interoperability and the context where maybe resources are not enough or simply underrepresented. So what are the steps, in a sense, actionable steps that the university can take to start to be part of this, let's say, this framework?
Well, it's a big question. It's an important question, but maybe what we are showing here, that universities showing what is their academic offer and their information for students to visit there, for local students, for mobility students. Maybe it's a very important, I will say, that maybe it's a need, it's something that should be done, to provide information about the own capabilities, the own offer, academic offer is something that is mandatory. Then there are maybe many steps, of course, maybe to begin to do agreements with other institutions, to make collaborations, to be involved in the European mobility framework. But a first step that is something that should be done by the university is to provide a good course catalog with their academic offer.
Okay, it's time to jump to the next slot. The next slot sees as a speaker Tiago. Once again, Tiago. No need to present him again, you know him by now. And the topic is quality link. So how, or rather connecting quality data across European higher education. We have again, you can take a bit more time if needed, Thiago, because we're a bit delayed, but it's okay. And the floor is once again yours.
Thank you very much. So we would like to talk to you about Quality Link. It's a project that I had the pleasure to be involved in, which recently ended after close to 3 years of work. And the main angle here was precisely to connect data about learning opportunities across the European higher education system. We've talked about this, and I'm sure many of you recognize the challenges that one encounters when trying to look at the educational offers. You need reliable data, but very often you will not find it, or not find it in a structured way. And if you want data that goes beyond the curricular course catalog data that we've been talking about, that will make it even more difficult. These are common challenges that were identified. This is what kickstarts the project. And this is the approach that was taken by the consortium. So on the one hand, we set about looking for quality information about the quality of a learning opportunity from different sources. And here you can talk about things that you will see in a course catalog, for example, such as teaching methodology, accessibility, but you might want to find other indicators such as labor market demand. We knew the data indicated the indicators that we wanted, but of course we wanted to get that data, so we need to figure out how. Now, for this, we set about doing some policy recommendations, draft standard specifications. They cover things such as the unique course identifier, what source of data can be used and how this connects with other existing standards, how do you discover data, and so on. So this was a long effort to try to create an architecture that would make use of the existing standards and combine into something actionable. And eventually, so it did, because we have a pilot aggregator and course catalog that uses all of this architecture in the background. You have a front end for learners, people are searching for learning opportunities. You have an internal dashboard for the education providers that are posting their learning opportunities there. And this was made possible to a great extent by the community that we managed to build around this. Quality Links started a standards consultation board that gathered representatives from the European University Alliances, policy organizations, EdTech, and so on. People who have been working in the field and have seen different problems, different use cases, different approaches. They were extremely helpful in advising us and how to build proper specifications that would cater to the needs identified as we went along. So the goal, again, is to create data exchange architecture, something that works regardless of the standards that we have going on. We start with the basic data on courses as provided by education institutions. This is what we saw. This is what the DACEM platform is about. In addition to that, then you look at official data sources, such as DECAR and other databases that have information about the institution itself. So in this case, we're going to trust the data providers and beyond the information provided by the institution itself. And that gives you some information on accreditation as well. And we look at other trusted data sources wherever we can find them. So we're looking at, whenever possible, ratings on the learning opportunities, the skills provided, are they in demand in the labor market, etc. This all would be piped in through this quality link architecture that we developed, resulting in aggregated data. And then, of course, access to that data should be free through the web portal, through REST APIs, or even for download. So whatever data gets aggregated, it's still public access. This was originally intended for micro-credentials. That was the main focus of the project. But in fact, this architecture covers a lot more, and we'll see how. So the point of the data source discovery, and this is something that Ida touched upon, things that are still necessary to make the ecosystem more resilient. is, first of all, you need to find your trusted providers. In this case, we know that if we want trusted providers at the level of institutions, we can look at TECAD, because from the point of view of the quality assurance, there is a lot more consistent information. Then again, you can find other providers depending on the sources that you're looking for. This is a common problem that we find also in when dealing with the Erasmus charter list and so on. But by identifying a provider, you can identify them by their internet domain /SHA code. And now that you know who the provider is, you will look for a manifest file, which is a way for the provider to tell you where we can find the information to access their data. This was the point of the data source discovery itself. The data exchange, as you can see, it's a bit more cumbersome, but essentially you can find data sources via APIs, and these can implement all sorts of standards, such as the Open Education API, Edu API, OCAPI, as we mentioned earlier. Or you can have the information in files, and actually flat files in the ELM format. Ultimately, the aggregator uses the ELM format for storage. So if you already have the files, this is essentially a direct pull. And then for every API, you're going to have complete pull, incremental pull, so the aggregator knows when to fetch information, when to fetch what information. You might have access control involved in here because you may be providing your API behind some level of authentication. So you have to tell the aggregator how to authenticate to get it out. And eventually all this is harvested and converted to ELM. Now, all these specifications are found in the URL that you see on the screen, specs.qualitylink.eu. These are parts of one of the many outputs of the project that you can find on the website as well. We had a look at the actual information that we wanted to obtain for all our quality indicators, for the micro-credentials, and you can see this is very extensive. There's a lot here in the basic elements that you would find in a course catalog as we discussed it, but there are other things that are not covered because they already go beyond the learning opportunity itself, but go into qualifications, which is something that we didn't touch upon yet. You have these other quality indicators themselves where you're trying to look for things that normally we cannot find. I'm thinking, for example, the labor market demand was something that we could at least infer from a set of other indicators and data sources. If you can rely on student rankings, that is great, but student rankings come with their own caveats as well. And ultimately, we had to look into the alliance use cases. You mentioned enrollment. We had enrollment in the Q&A already. The system that we discussed here in DACEM does not handle enrollment itself. Although, again, if you build your own, you can introduce that layer. Otherwise, you should be linking at the very least. So as you see, this was a very ambitious plan to try to gather all this data. And of course, you have to look at the standards that are used and if they even cover those data needs. This is accurate at this point, even though this was all prepared for OCAPI version 1, but still accurate as it stands. So you have a lot of bits of data that can fit the needs that were identified, depending on the formats that the education provider uses to provide the data. It is a wild landscape, to be honest. There are many different standards that are used for many different cases and in different levels of maturity as well. Trying to combine this was quite the challenge. And even as we decided to settle on ELM as the reference for all this matching, being the most comprehensive model that we were looking at, we still realized that we need to extend ELM because it didn't typify some pieces of information that we really, really wanted to make this work. So ultimately, we developed a number of specifications just to go through data sources and access policy. which we touched upon, the ontology extending the ELM, the application profile also extending the ELM. So bringing to ELM the parts that weren't considered before and that we found were necessary. We have a specification for the unique course identifier. Highly recommend reading that one because it's very simple. We have the data discovery that we also touched upon, and the data exchange, which explains what happens when you provide information using a certain format. Again, should visit the specs. Everything is there. It's worth a read. It's very technical, but highly informative. So currently, we know that the quality link aggregator is already, or the entire architecture already supports a number of features. Work is still in progress in Okapi, and I mentioned this because Okapi version 2 is still in beta, but this is something that we've been actively working on, trying to connect everything from the DACEM output to the quality link aggregation. It's quite a challenge, but also rewarding, knowing that you connect the outputs of the two projects. If you want to see what the aggregator looks like, especially considering that this is the logic that we eat our own dog food. If we build something, we are going to show it working. And all the credits to KIC, the Knowledge Innovation Center, who is responsible for producing this aggregator. You can visit the courses app that will show you the front end from the perspective of a learner who's searching for learning opportunities and looking at the quality data that we have available on them, etc. And you can have a look at the dashboard itself, which shows how an education provider would join the aggregator, provide their data, or rather just point to the table of contents, the manifest file that we mentioned earlier. And this is the ultimate expression of the underlying architecture working. Because in the end, all of this is to provide the learners with more accurate information so they can chart their own learning pathway. There are some perspectives of enriching the quality link aggregator, namely with this fantastic app called the Skills Finder. The idea is that we could crawl through the text descriptions that we have on your typical course catalog, and from there trying to identify individual skills. This is a big deal, especially we live in the area of Skills for Europe. So this is one of the possible routes of development that we may see in the near future. Ultimately, this logic, all this architecture, as exemplified by the aggregator, it responds to a number of use cases that have been identified. So you provide guidance to your potential learners. You start understanding the recognition of your learning opportunities. You start seeing how the label market is ready to accept your credentials. You see, of course, these cases for university alliances that we've talked about so much. And most importantly for me is the matter of interoperability, because the capacity to interact between these different formats, because we all realize we're not going to have one single format to rule them all. But the fact that the effort was made with all the stakeholders to at least try to find the common ground, so we can more easily transfer information from one standard to the other, depending on the use case that we're covering, is very, very promising. So that's it about the Quality Link. I invite you to visit the project website, quality-link.eu. And if you have any questions, I am, of course, happy to answer them.
Amazing. Thank you, Tiago. So now we're heading to the final part of this webinar. It is the Q&A. I would say we can directly go to the general Q&A of the event. We don't need to tackle specifically questions related to this last presentation. And we have, I would say, maybe even 10 minutes or so. There is maybe one question that I wanted to share from the Q&A box, and then we will try to look for the others, because we made mention to Okapi since the start of this webinar. And one of the questions asked, can you dig a little more about Okapi? What standard is it? who uses it and what entities are standardized? I think this is a valid question because it connects both to your presentation and in general the DACEM platform. So anyone from the panelists can answer any question, really. It's not addressed to anyone in particular.
I think, okay, Tiago is sharing here the website of Okapi. That is the API we have implemented and we have been experienced more. Please go ahead, Tiago.
Yes, in fact, I should have provided the link. This is Okapi. Well, you see it here. It should. Okapi.uni-foundation.eu. I will place it in the Q&A as well. Let's place all the relevant links real quick, and then we'll make it available in the slides that we will share. So the Open Course Catalog API was developed some years ago during the NORM project as well. It had the goal to take what other standards were already doing, but try to bring something that was more difficult to obtain, which was the notion of curricular structure. So not only which courses are included in which program, but where in the program are they included. And that proved to be quite a bit of a challenge. But as I mentioned earlier, our point was to do some curricular mapping. So we needed that information. And that's how Okapi was born. That was Okapi version 1. It was very minimal in the sense that we focused on the curricular structure, but not much else. In the meantime, things have evolved, of course. And we designed Okapi version 2 to take into account a few more things, namely, first of all, to include the instances, because this is something that we didn't touch upon in Okapi version 1. Or as we saw in the demo, the editions of each course. So whenever a course is delivered, we keep a track of that. Those are, of course, instances. The logic of Okapi is that you browse through a catalog as you would a website, but in this case, it's the technical kind. So you can have some information about institutions, but the institution is not very comprehensive because we don't want Okapi to be the trusted source for institutions. We have centralized things for that. But essentially, you'll get a title for an institution, an abbreviation, its SHA code, and a link. That's what all we're going to do. Then, depending on where you are, the institution may then provide you a way to obtain the organizational units, the programs, or the courses that it offers. And so as you navigate through these links, you can get to the organizational units. Again, it's not a very comprehensive look at an organizational unit, but you'll have a title, abbreviation, some identifiers, and a site. The organizational units in Okapi are mostly there to provide you a way to filter results, to group information. The program, however, is of course something much, much larger. And just to give you an idea, we have title codes, credit counts, the qualification level provided, etc. We have the ELM controlled vocabularies. So for learning opportunity type, learning schedule type, mode of learning. We have the ESET codes for the classification, languages, learning outcomes, length, validity. There's a lot in this program. And yet this is only a subset of what DACEM already covers. But for the purposes of interoperability, this is where Okapi version 2 landed. If we go to courses, we have even more, of course. We have all sorts of identifiers. We use these ELM descriptors as well. And then we start having some information about classification. You can use local classification in case your system does not have ESET codes, but has another kind of either local, regional, national classification system. We can deal with that. You can indicate some restrictions. So, for example, if a course can only be offered to students enrolled in that university, so not for mobility. Or if, for example, it's restricted to students enrolled in the alliance that you're part of. And here comes the thing, the related program, which is how we describe the curricular structure. We can also indicate prerequisites and so forth. The individual course can actually be described with many more attributes. But most of these that follow, so this part here, Most of these are free text elements that we allow the education provider to show, but at most you can do search on it. Well, keyword search, that kind of vibe. If you want to do exact matching, this is why we have these ELM fields and concrete fields for the languages, these TSCAP and so forth. And as I mentioned, course instance is the other kind of entity that is covered here. We don't drill too much into it. We just want to make sure that if the system has some information that we want to persist over time, we should have it there. So start date, the end date, the term, credit count, a few more ELM elements. This is repeated by design. Engagement hours, language of instruction. This is what happened when you took that course. And of course, you have the reference for the course itself. So these are the entities that are covered in the Okapi version 2 specification. This data model is also under appreciation to be adopted by EWP as well, even though the EWP API and Okapi itself are most likely going to look different.
Yeah, basically, we need Okapi to be able to expose the information we have in course catalogs to other tools. So not just for humans. Humans can watch the course catalog information in our browsers, in our mobile phones, but other tools need these APIs to get this information. So that is what we provide. Sabri, I wonder if we have more questions, because I would like to show something I forget.
Okay,
Yeah.
please go. You can go,
Okay.
Manuel. We have many questions, to be honest, but I think some of these will be tackled perhaps later on, or even during the final conference. But please proceed, and then maybe there's one more question I can share.
It is about what we were saying about DACEM, how it's provided. Of course, we have DACEM online in DACEM.eu, but you can provide your own installation of DACEM and customize it. I hope you are seeing here this is an DACEM installation for Athena, the Athena European University Alliance, and here we have it's the same website basically, but we don't have here any information of other alliances. We have here the institutions of Athena only. With the about information is also about Athena, and we can explore here the Athena universities, for example, University of Sierra, that we didn't see previously. So I think this is an example of what can be done with this. You can take the DACEM as it is and include your university with us, or maybe if you have like an association with other universities, to make your own installation and to customize the platform for your interest. Or finally, as Tiago was explaining, maybe you can develop completely the software by yourself, the course catalog you want, but even you can integrate some of the modules, some of the packages we have been working on in DACEM. So feel free to ask us if you want, if you need something of this, if you are interested, and we are here we are expecting for your requests. Thank you. Sorry, you are mute.
Okay, yes, I was speaking with my microphone off. I think we tackled most of the questions. I think this was very interesting. We can maybe head toward the conclusion if you want to share a concluding remark, Manuel. But from our side, next week on the 17th, we will have the DACEM conference. This, I believe, is not really the end of something. I think it's a beginning now that the platform is functional, accessible from DACEM.eu. And as Manuel mentioned, there is still intention to improve and build on what's currently available, to make it more transferable, etc. So from our side as host, I want to thank everyone for joining. And Manuel, please, as if you want to share a concluding remark, I think now is the moment. No, your microphone is off, Manuel.
Thank you, sorry. It happens any one of us. Well, to say that thank you to everybody for being here, and thank you to you, Sabri, to Ida, to Tiago for your presentations, and to other partners in the project. We have been working quite hard during the last 3 years. Okay, we didn't solve all the problems, but we think here we provided like a very good platform to continue working on this. And we have done it thinking that this is not just a prototype that is going to be finished now, but it has been developed in a solid way, integrated with existing tools that are being used by EUF, by many people, many universities in Europe. So there is an intention to maintain and keep this software working. But we also know that this is not a finished work. As I said, there is a main bottleneck in this system, that it is how we provide the information, because currently this requires a huge effort from institutions. And we hope we can work on this problem in the next months. We hope to have many ideas about how to do it, but it's important also for us, very important, to know that what we are doing here is of interest for people. So if you are interested in anything of these features we provided here, or possibilities, please don't hesitate to contact us. You can find here my email address, and please contact us, and we will be more than delighted to talk to you and to see if we can support you in your needs. So that's all. Thank you very much, and hope to see you in sometime in future, maybe in Brussels, maybe in any other place. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for joining, and see you soon. Goodbye.
Bye.